when we played at the beginning, we were playing the minuet. And so Johann Sebastian Bach, oh, and I always forget to do this. So this is a picture of Jan van Eyck, and it's not a great picture. Of course, we don't really know that well about what he looked like. And then the that is Marriage of Giovanni Arnolfini. That's the name of it, and I probably really should have gone through that. So this is Johann Sebastian Bach, and he actually came from a very musical family. He had uncles and aunts and grandparents and siblings and children, like his whole family was super, super musical. And his first wife was actually related to him and was very, very musical as well. His second wife actually was very, very musical as well. But so he was, I guess there were about 75 Bach family members that made their living through music. And they, they were all very, very, not all of them became famous like Bach, but they would all get together and play all these different instruments. And you can show, now when did he live, is what compared to Jan van Eyck. Jan van Eyck says it says 1380, but I've read it's probably 1390, 95 is probably more accurate. But this is, it's 300 years later he came along. But this is still really early for our music. Let's see. So they have you start with the bio of him, and so you can go on into as much as you want of him. But he's from Germany, Eisenach, Germany, and the way they suggest that you have them say his name was like a chicken, bok, 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 so they don't forget how to say it. For Jan van Eyck, the way they have you remember this, and it may or may not work for you, they're like, Jan, a van, Eyck, like a van is coming, Eyck. And I was like, how is anybody going to remember that? And the best is in the last lesson, they're like, cassette. It's like cassette. None of the kids even know what a cassette is. I'm like, yeah, I never talked about that. So the interesting thing is, I think there's a lot about Bach. There's a lot that they know about him, but when he was very young, his parents died. And he ended up living with his brother. But he was a musical prodigy really, really young. And he was taking lessons, organ lessons, and his brother, Christoph, wouldn't let him, he was learning how to copy music. And the harder music, his brother was only letting him go at kind of a slow pace. So he would sneak down with a candle and get the hard music and copy it by hand. That's what his troublemaking, he was just trying to copy the hard music so he could practice hard music. So I thought that was hilarious. He got caught and got in a lot of trouble for sneaking downstairs in the middle of the night so he could copy hard music so he could practice his hard music. And so, and a lot of the kids haven't seen real organs played, pipe organs played. And so he actually, the organ was what he, primarily was the organ and the harpsichord were his two instruments that he did a lot with. So, so you can go into as much as you want. He was in a choir for a long time before his voice changed, and then he ended up getting scholarships, but he was poor. He was in the choir for orphans. He didn't have a lot of money. His parents, he was an orphan. He was living with his brother, but he became the church organist when he was 17 in the church that he lived. He was appointed to the court of the Duke of Weimar, and one of the salient features about his life was that he kept getting fired. He kept having disputes with his employers, moving from employer to employer. So that was different than Jan van Eyck. He did. But when he was 22, he married Maria Barbara Bach, his cousin, distant cousin, and she was really musical as well. They had 7 kids, and that's when he was writing the Brandenburg concertos and Well-Tempered Clavier, and then she died in 1720 in childbirth, and then in 1721, less than a year later, he marries Anna Magdalena Wilken, she was a famous singer, so she was very, very musical as well. And so the Anna Magdalena notebook is dedicated to her. There's a bunch of things. So you may or may not go into all. He did actually eventually lost his eyesight, but he kept composing when he was blind, just like Beethoven kept composing when he was deaf. And he did a lot of sacred and secular music, and so there will be things that were, sacred. But what was interesting, what I didn't realize, is that after he died, his music went completely out of vogue, and no one played his music for 50 years. And Mozart was the one that rediscovered him. He found this. He started going through. He was at a organ, like at a choir concert, and they were playing something from Bach, and the conductor was a student of Bach's years before. He was an older guy, and he had taken music from him like 40 years prior. And Mozart was like, "This stuff is amazing." And so he started. They thought it was way too convoluted. Not the minuet, but his preludes and his toccatas and fugues were a lot of voices and a lot of stuff going on, and so they didn't like it. So Mozart actually got it more popular again, and then Robert Schumann, that we talk about in Fame, he actually, at Parkmont we actually talked about it last year, he got all of the music together, and they were able to publish his music, but he was basically unknown until 50 years after his death. Let's see, and so so the counterpoint thing, and so this is, you can go into as much or as little as you want. I know that we've got some people that are really musical, Gloria. I know Radine plays the flute, Mary plays the piano, so we've got musical people, and then we've got people that don't even want to go there, and I understand and a few people said, I don't know if I want to do this because I really don't know anything about music. But there are some fun things to bring up. So there's the instrumentation, first of all, is the harpsichord. So you can play on YouTube, there's like a 30-second video so it actually shows a clavichord, a harpsichord, and a piano. And so I'll send out the links to it. But with the harpsichord so obviously people know what a piano looks like. And this is the inside of the piano. So you can start with a clavichord because that's the earliest one. Let's see. So this is what a clavichord looks like, and it actually usually sits.
Is it
It sits in a box, like it actually is just a box. This one is on a stand, but it was actually developed in the 1300s. So it was what the music was around when Jan van Eyck was painting. This was what music was written on. It's only 4 octaves, and the strings actually go this way, and the notes share strings, and a little metal piece comes up and touches the string. But it's not very loud, and it has a really interesting sound. So there's a 30-second video of the minuet in G being played on a clavichord. So if you put in minuet in G and clavichord, let's see.
Girls named Mary Cassatt.
Clavichord.
So
So you can go in. I know that not everybody is going to want to do all of that, especially. But if you don't want to do a really messy art project, you can do this, and it's 32 seconds. So you'll see she's on. So it has a tinny sound. It's not loud at all, especially compared to a piano or even a harpsichord. It's not very loud. And then if you go in and change it to harpsichord, then there's a video. There are different videos at different lengths, but if you scroll down, there's one that's only you can just play any of them and just play for a few minutes. So that one is the one that we heard at the beginning, is the harpsichord. It actually has a different sound. So, but the difference is that is touched by a metal string, and the harpsichord is plucked. So, so depending on what you want to, I know I'm like totally geeking out on the music part of it. So you can show the clavichord, and then the harpsichord. That's what the harpsichord looks like. It's a little bit more like a piano shape, but it's still a really short keyboard, and sometimes they were reverse colors. They were a lot of times painted, even on the soundboard, it's like really, really elaborate. But it had inside, instead of them having metal that's touching it, there's like a little pick, and so the interesting thing is you press it down, it makes a noise, and as soon as you take your finger off the key, it stops it because the damper goes down. So in a piano, that's not true. You hit it and it resonates. The damper doesn't do that. You have to like stop it. So that's the harpsichord. And then a piano, I have the pictures of the piano. So the piano is actually not a string instrument, even though the clavichord and the harpsichord are considered string instruments. The piano is a percussion instrument because of the hammers. So these are all the hammers that hit the strings. And so you can, if you want to do it, go into that, you can. But the cutest video, if you show the one with, I was really geeking out last night. There was this darling little Chinese boy that is 3 years old playing it on the piano, and he was so cute. So if you want to show the videos of the 30-second videos of the clavichord and the 30-second videos of the harpsichord, and then you show this little kid playing it, he makes a funny face at the beginning, and then he plays it. His little tiny hands are playing. It was so cute. Anyway, so all you have to do, I'll send the links out, and if you want to use those, you can. One of the things that, so then they have to talk about counterpoint. They talk about the toccata and fugue. And so, let's see. So the toccata, so if you go in and you do J, S, Bach, toccata and fugue, it's in D minor. It's the most common one that you'll see. It comes up as soon as you put TOCC. It's going to be the one that comes up. And then there is a really cool video. If you don't do the art project, there's a really cool video. It's the third one down when you put that in. And this guy is playing he's playing in this really amazing church in Germany. So when they pan out, but you can actually see on the video, the reason it's so strong like that is because that keyboard actually presses, he has the stops pressed down so that the keyboard below it, that's where he is in the church. He's way up in this high, point in the church. So this is the toccata, and the toccata is 2.5 minutes long. But it does show him playing, and it's really cool because they can see the keyboard going down. So he actually uses all 3 registers, and when he plays on the bottom register, you only get the single, right now you're hearing 2 octaves, but he'll go back and forth on this lower register and the upper register. So if you go to 2.5 minutes, and that's where the fugue starts. So the point they want to make is that this melody starts, and then the other melody comes in, and then there's another melody that comes in, and you'll see each hand is kind of doing it. But what's even cooler, if you watch for about 1.5 minutes, his feet are doing the same melody in the pedals, and they actually show his feet. It's so cool to see his feet going da, 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 da. I mean, it's really cool. Anyway, I thought it was cool. So my kids thought it was really neat. But just where it is. So you can actually just skip to 2.5 minutes, show it for a minute, and show them doing it with the feet. Now, if you want, so the 3, see, and that's the end of Bach. So the 3, the things that they want you to end on is that you have different options for what to do with the kids. There's a minuet dance that you can do with the kids, and it's in the book. And so you turn on the minuet with the harpsichord, and the kids do this like minuet. And depending on your class, they might really like that. We do a lot of art, and then there is dancing and acting and music activities that are really fun for the kids to do. So it's different, and so you can have them do that. Now, if the boys and girls don't want to be paired up, you can figure that out. But it is kind of a pairs thing, but it's not like they're grabbing each other. So they're just kind of dancing next to each other. So that is one of the options. The other one that's really fun, if you're musical, is to do a counterpoint thing with Row, Row, Row Your Boat. So you can start with the younger kids. You would have, okay, you guys have to be my guinea pigs. So you'll have these guys will do Row, Row, Row. And if you know somebody in the class that is really musical, like Carter, can you come up? Okay, so if you can start them doing Row, Row, Row Your Boat, and actually, Kate, can you be in Carter's group? No, you don't want to. Okay, can your mom be in Carter's group?
Yes.
She's like, nope. Okay, so you four are gonna sing Row, Row, Row Your Boat with Carter. So you're gonna start going, row, row, row your boat. Okay, right?
Get your hand out.
So you're gonna tell me, so you're gonna go,
Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream.
Merrily, life is but a dream. So you can
Do you want
do
us to keep
around
going?
that way. If you have older kids, you can actually divide them into 4, where we go, row, row, row your boat, row, row. And the kids actually really get into that. They think that it's really cool, especially if you, when you're watching the first time you go through, if somebody really, you could tell they weren't having any problem, have them come up and lead the second group and the third, and you can lead the last one, and just have them go through it like a couple of times. So that's really fun. The kids understand counterpoint a lot better when they've done around. You were perfect. Thank you, Carter. Okay, so that's that. Now the art project. We get to go in my kitchen. So if you like, so we just did the we just did the color wheel project, and so what they recommend that you do, and it's best if you have the really flat paper plates. So the cheapest paper plates are the best, but I don't. This is the one I have. It's kind of like that. So what they suggest you do is that you get wheat paste and you mix it with the tempera. And so I actually think I'm going to send out an email and find out how many people in each school are going to do it. And then I'll make enough for the classes, because if nobody does it, and I've made up tons of it, I don't want it to go to waste. But so what they want to do as far as the texture is concerned is having different things to add into it. So the ones that are easiest for me is coffee grounds, they said, are good, but I don't drink coffee, so I don't have coffee grounds. So you can bring whatever add-ins you want. I had some, they said eggshell, and so I've been keeping my eggshells, but they don't go very far. So you can do that. I have like rice and oats, so you can go through your cupboards and see like what you think would be good. And then I'll have rice and quinoa and probably oats that are flat, and then I'll leave as much of the eggshells and stuff. Sand's perfect. Yes. So you have a little bit of texture, and then I would only give them the 3 colors, because they say don't do more than 5. So what you'll do is you'll go around and give it to them. So you'll give them about, maybe, they said a couple tablespoons. But you can see, like, it's thick once it has the wheat paste in. It's wheat paste and the tempera and liquid dishwashing, or liquid detergent. This one looks too thin. Okay, so then what you'll have them do, and they probably do need a little bit more, then you'll give them 3 tongue depressors. So that will be fun. And then they can do, so they've got different options. In your older classes, they don't have to do this one. In the older classes, if they want, they can take these, then put their texture in it. Here, I'm gonna put this on my bridal veil. Oh, and Charlie's towel and swimsuit are here somewhere. Now, it was sitting on the table, so I think Devin stashed it somewhere. Okay, so you'll have each color will kind of have its own add-in. And then we'll put some of that in there. And we'll put some of this in. I'm gonna get this all the way confused. And then, so it's okay if because it all get mixed in. And then you'll have one for each color, otherwise it'll start looking brown. So they'll do designs with it, and so they'll start kind of getting it all mixed together. And so they can start doing designs, but you want them to spread it out as much and take it all the way to the edge. Because once they're done with their yellow the way they like it, then they're gonna actually mix it with the color next to it. And so you can have them do like swirlies and different things. And then you'll do that with each color. And then the fun part is when you start doing the mixing of the colors for the design. So maybe with this one, because of the texture, you can do like little, like more of a, like kind of a mashed look. And what do you think, Carter? Does this look fun?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that just the fact that it's really messy, it'll look fun. So then you get this and get it all the way out to the edges.
So the plate is their paper.
It's
like
their, well, they'll actually do a print. Oh, so this is their palette. Oh, I'm getting it all over. This is all washable paint, but this is their palette. And then when you're ready, you're gonna, they talked about secondary colors. So this one's going to be the orange one. This one will end up being the green, and this will be the purple. They just have to make sure that they don't, if they mix this one into, they don't want to end up with yellow and have to make purple out of it. So, so then they'll actually mix the two together, and however they want the design to be, they can.
So you have to have a class that listens really well for this.
Yeah, I was surprised how well some of the classes did. Like I ended up doing the food dye one, and the kids loved it, and it was actually Albright's second grade class, and they were amazing. They did such a great job on that. And then I had a class at Parkmont that really didn't listen to me at all, and it ended up being like a pool of paint of food dye. So it does depend. If now that you know your class a little bit, you can decide what you want to do. Maybe you'll end up doing the counterpoint music thing instead. So then you want to make sure you're getting some green in there, and then your purple. And the purple actually, because you don't have any white, it ends up being a really dark kind of like maroon color, but you want to have the texture in there, so you get enough of that. And depending on where it is, you could actually get the secondary and tertiary colors. So then it looks like that. And then if the kids want, they can actually use this as a palette, mix their colors, put in their add-ins, and then they could paint on this with their sticks. They could make like a flower. It can't be anything really fancy, but you give them a little bit more paint, like in the 4th, 5th, or 6th grade. They could paint a flower or a tree, and actually the brown, they would just mix it all together in the middle and get a little bit more. You'll actually notice that the red in this, it starts being brown, so your middle could be the brown for the tree if you wanted to do that. Otherwise, they don't have to. They can do a print of it, and then the print, you put it over the top, and that's why the flatter plates work better. And then, let's see. And there's our weird print. So depending on, I probably would have been, if I didn't have these in my hand, I probably would have pushed down a little bit better on it. And actually, depending on, I think that's where it was. Right there. It's going to be really gross. So you can do that. I mean, try to get the paint all the way.
Yeah.
Huh?
What if you flip the plate upside down with that paper?
Well, it probably would work a little bit better.
That might be more messy.
It could. It depends on your class. Right. And yeah, because this way you pull it off and you don't have a lot of paint on the outside. And then they can actually cut them out. Because we did, at least in Miss Albright's class, the one that we had done the filters, we matted them in pumpkins. I know you guys made monsters out of yours and stuff. So if you want, you can go back in and cut them out and cut them into like a holiday ornament or something. You could do something with them that. So that's what it ends up. This one, I obviously had more paint. So you can decide which one you like better and give them less paint or more paint. But if you decide you want to do that, let me know and I'll make sure I have enough paint for you. It doesn't take a lot, but I'm sure each class is going to use half a bottle. So I'll have it in jars in the wagon for you, and then you can do that. So that's it.